We are back, and a lot of people ask, well, how could they get explosives into the towers? And there's a lot of research out there that they had ample opportunity, this one being one of them that we're discussing with Aidan. Aidan, tell people about this. You know, a lot of people talk about how the towers were supposed to be refurbished for asbestos, all these main columns, but they said demolition wasn't an option. So let's talk about that for a moment.
Yeah, as I was saying, there was a major property assessment report dated in December 2000, and in that report, it was said that within 1 year, steel columns within the elevator shafts were to be treated for rust, accumulated rust, also for abatement of asbestos-containing fireproofing material, which was ongoing according to the report at that time, and also other work. It was supposed to be finished within 1 year, which was, of course, to have been December 2001, but the towers were gone by that time. So clearly there was significant work going on in the area of the supporting steel columns within the elevator shafts themselves, and by companies that I consider dubious, to say the least.
Highly suspect, to say the least, in my opinion.
Yeah, Turner Construction had an office located in Tower 1. They were there from at least as early as 97 up to 2001. Kevin Ryan was able to determine that the floors that were impacted and later failed on 9/11 were also the very same floors, the bottom floors, for which fireproofing was reapplied.
It's just a coincidence. I mean, come on.
Yeah, the 78th floor and up of Tower 2 were re-fireproofed just before 9/11, and also the floors at which Tower 1 were hit and later failed, those floors and up the roof were also various ones re-fireproofed. And it's just, as Kevin Ryan pointed out, and he posted this on 9/11 Blogger, it's just another amazing coincidence, to say the least.
Yeah, a lot of those coincidences seem to happen in and around 9/11. Just unbelievable. I want to get your take on the new Sibel Edmonds revelations in just a minute, but let's take a caller or two. Let's go to Matt in the UK. Matt, you're on the line.
Hi, Jason. Good evening, sir. And it's pretty late in the UK, but thanks for taking my call. Yeah, I was wondering about 9/11, and look, 9/11 was definitely an inside job. I think that they put thermite plasma where the shaft, where the gentleman was talking about, where the elevator is definitely, and kill all those innocent people. I just want to retract to the basically the UK's NHS system in the UK at the moment, and I think in the UK at the moment we're all very blinded by this NHS system that's owned by the Rockefellers, and where they control the nurses and doctors, and especially I've got children myself, and where this flu vaccine is concerned, where they will push for this vaccine. It's inevitable. And the American people have got to wake up and listen to yourselves and Alex Jones, because he's not telling no lies. He's saying, look, this vaccine is full of mercury and it's not been tested by anything. It's by, we've got the big army stations in the UK.
Well, you know what? Now that you've brought up, and I thank you for the call, Matt, we have some news out there that Cornell student dies with swine flu, and I think you're going to be seeing this more and more as the days progress. Last week, they tried to say that a school of only 10,000 people had 2,000 infected by swine flu, but notice nobody died. Well, I don't think anybody's going to start dying in masses unless they start taking this inoculation, which admittedly has squalene in it, admittedly has mercury in it, and then you watch these newsreels from 1979 about the 1976 swine flu, quote-unquote, epidemic, and you find out people went paralyzed, they never regained certain motion in their mouth, some people actually died, and then you also find out, and I haven't really covered this lately, but in 1972, the CIA released a sister virus, it wasn't the swine flu, it was something else, I can't remember, but it was some kind of swine virus. It's sister virus in Cuba as biowarfare. I don't think it's a coincidence, and I thank you for the call. Let's get back to Sibel Edmonds. Sibel Edmonds, in late August, goes on the record finally. She gives her deposition. She reveals a whole slew of different things outside of what we already knew with her interviews that made the Times Online and other news publications, where she was talking about the Pakistani ISI and them trading nuclear secrets, General Mahmoud Ahmed. And I can't remember what the American's name was, but she named one pretty high-level American official in the scandal. Nothing ended up happening to him. He just denied any involvement. There was no follow-up by the media. But she goes on Malloy's show right before this, and she makes the statement that U.S. intelligence was working with, had intimate relations with bin Laden, the CIA, and the Taliban. Up until the day of 9/11. What do you think about those revelations, Aidan?
Once again, it's remarkable. She's a very compelling figure with very compelling information, and there is silence across the media.
Just silence everywhere. The biggest thing covering this story, the Huffington Post did, but they didn't cover anything about bin Laden. When we put this Charlie Sheen video out on Infowars.com, and he makes the mention of Sibel Edmonds and the FBI, and we play the actual audio clip where she talks about this relationship between intelligence and bin Laden, and we know there's a long-standing relationship between the bin Laden family, the CIA, and the Bush family. Big coincidence there. It's still acted like it's Looney Tunes, tinfoil hat wearing spaceships, on Mars with the Loch Ness Monster and Bigfoot at the helm. That's how the media continues to treat the subject.
And all of that despite the fact that the official story apparently is little more than an allegation.
Exactly. I point this out in Fabled Enemies. They made, supposedly, people within the FBI intercepted congratulatory phone calls from Embry-Riddle, the military base in Florida, the day of 9/11. Never gets talked about. Some of the hijackers listed their home address as the Pensacola Navy Station. Ada trained at Maxwell Air Force Base. Others trained at Brooks Air Force Base. You had the guy from the Defense Language School in Monterey, California go public after he trained a bunch of the hijackers. None of their intelligence ties are ever discussed. In Fabled Enemies, I show you how Diane Albritton and her husband didn't call the cops on Waleed al-Shehri and another hijacker. They called the CIA, and the CIA did nothing. And then this intertwines with Able Danger. Able Danger trying to go to the FBI 70-plus times because they have Ada and 3 others on the radar. It just doesn't make a lot of sense. And 2 of those guys, by the way, that Able Danger had on the radar were living with a tested FBI informant that the FBI didn't want to testify in the initial congressional investigation. I mean, these are facts.
Sure.
It drives me nuts. I mean, you bring all that stuff up. There should be a whole investigation into this matter. You can bring up the Pakistani ISI angle and the $100,000 that was wired to the hijackers just before the attacks. We now have a sitting vice president that admitted to this on camera, didn't dispute it, said, no big deal. We didn't know what to do. And meanwhile, he threatens Pakistan. I think it's either September 12th or September 13th, on the Senate floor, just outright threatens them, says they're pretending to be our friends, they better step up in this war on terror, which basically says you're going to let us use your land as a base or you're going to become a target, and still nothing is done. That's why I really dig what Charlie Sheen did. I think that 6.5-minute video that we've put out does hit a lot of bullet points. It's well put together. God bless Aaron Dykes. What a great job editing. He actually did that in under 24 hours, folks, which is completely impressive. Have you gotten to see the video?
I have. It's impressive, and hopefully it's generating lots of views, and hopefully it.
Well, I think it's not only important that it's generating a lot of news. I think it's important that could be someone's first step into 9/11 truth, because Charlie Sheen's involved. And yes, he came out 3 years ago, but never with something as provocative a piece that showed you the evidence up front like this. So I think it could bring more people into this 9/11 truth movement, which is what we need.
Yeah, it's a good starting point, I think, for beginners. Yeah, I think it's a good way to introduce some people to the topic. As far as even the aircraft attacks themselves are concerned, abandon the hijackers. Also, having done other research, I've been able to find that the aircraft attacks were entirely possible under GPS autopilot guidance without the input of a pilot necessarily.
Well, let's talk about that, because that's obviously a theory that's out there. Go ahead.
Yeah, I've been doing heavy research for about a year on this, and some facts come to mind that, for example, brand new state-of-the-art flight management systems were being installed into United and American Boeing 757s and 767s in the very late 1990s. GPS signal errors were always in existence up until 2000. There were deliberately installed errors in the signals so that the system could not be abused. That was removed in May 2000. In August 2001, an enhanced GPS service was introduced that provided placement accuracy of about 3 meters. That service is now in use by the aviation industry.